Okay,
Please rise for the reconvene.
please be seated. All right. Okay, here we have our jury. Everyone, please be seated. Hold on for a second, Mr. Stewart, before you begin. Let's hold on for a second. All right, proceed, please.
Thank you. All right, Skylar. You're at the Beaumont Grand. You've been gone for 19 days.
Mm-hmm.
You're carrying your rucksack upstairs.
Yep.
All right. Walk us through what happens next.
Me and my wife, she carries my backpack, I have the other 2 bags. We go upstairs to our apartment. We live on the 3rd floor. We get up there, we enter the apartment, and my 2 dogs are on the porch, which is a landing. It's like a personal landing for each apartment. They were out there and obviously going crazy. And we went out there. I put all my stuff on that that landing area, and or patio, I guess you could call it. And my dogs came in at that point, and my bigger dog, the hound dog, I remember he peed immediately as he got in from excitement.
Excited to see you?
Yeah, very excited.
Okay. Where did Ruger pee?
He peed on my boots.
Okay. And what happened next?
Well, I cleaned off my boot of urine, and then I think I might have put the dogs back outside for a few minutes so I could walk, or get undressed pretty much. And then, yeah, Danielle walked me through the house because she was so excited because she had cleaned everything, and she just wanted to show me that, all this work that she'd done. So we did that, and yeah, and the house was spotless, and I'm a slob, so this was nice.
And what did you do next? You walked through the house?
Yeah, we walked through the house. I'm having some trouble remembering right now.
Okay. At some point you got undressed.
Yes, at some point. Okay, yeah. We walked through the house, and like I said earlier, on the way home we had ordered Domino's from the app on my phone, and we thought it'd be there this is a little bit later, but so we were waiting on this pizza, and I went and got out of my ACUs, and I have a blue robe, and I put on my blue robe, and then we went into the spare bedroom. There's a master bedroom where me and Danielle sleep. There's no TV, and it's dark in there. And then there's a spare bedroom where it has a TV, an extra bed, and the computer in there. And
Why'd you go in the spare room?
because Danielle was on the computer and she wanted to show me some of the videos she'd done. Some stunting videos and some videos from granite transformations that she had made for work.
Okay. And tell us about what happened in the spare bedroom.
I was absolutely relaxed. I'd just been sleeping in the dirt for the last 19 days, so I was clean, or somewhat clean, in a robe. relaxing next to my wife, and we talked and conversed and caught up, and yeah, and then we ended up having sex on that bed in the spare bedroom.
Why would you have sex in the spare bedroom when you had another bedroom?
Spur of the moment fun, I guess.
Okay. What happened after you had sex?
We were there, we had sex, and then after we had had sex on there, I went to go take a shower to go rinse off. And I went and rinsed off, and then I think as I was getting out, like Danielle got into the shower with me for like a split second as I was getting out. And then, yeah, so I took a shower and then I changed. And during that time, my friend John Vanderhorn was texting my phone, so I ended up texting him back. And during that time when I was texting him back, Danielle had gotten out of the shower, and we both started to relax on the couch, waiting for the pizza to arrive.
Did the pizza arrive?
No, it did not.
All right. And about what time was it that let me just backtrack because I don't know that I got a time. About what time did you leave JBLN?
I believe it was, I'm just going to guesstimate around 2:30.
Okay. And about what time do you think you got home?
Well, it was about a 25-minute drive, so I don't know exactly what time, but we left between 2:30 and 3. We left from post, and then we got home. I think it was somewhere like around 3 or right before. It was somewhere around 3 o'clock we had gotten home.
Okay. Could it have been a little earlier, a little bit later?
Yeah, by a small margin.
Okay. And the pizza didn't come, is that right?
That's correct.
All right. So what did you do when the pizza didn't come?
Well, I wasn't happy, but then I just called him. And I just reordered.
Okay. All right. So you've come home, you've unloaded your gear, you got undressed, you went in the spare bedroom, she showed you some things on the computer, you took a shower, she took a shower. Do you recall what you're wearing?
When I got out of the shower?
Yeah.
Well, I was wearing basketball shorts and a white t-shirt.
Okay. And do you recall what your wife was wearing after she took a shower?
My wife was wearing, after she got out of the shower, I believe she just jumped into pajamas, so I think she was wearing, I don't remember exactly what she was wearing, but I know when we had intercourse that she was wearing black underwear and black bra.
Okay. All right. And then, when she picked you up, she was wearing, you said, an orange jumper and some blue jeans.
Yeah, she had an orange, like, fuzzy jacket she got from Cabela's that she was wearing, and I think she was just wearing jeans.
Okay. And so, after you get out of the shower and she gets out of the shower, you said you went and did what?
After we had both taken a shower, we went back to the couch and we sat there, not for too long, because after we were on the couch for a little bit, the pizza did arrive.
Are you having a drink at this point?
Yes, I did have an alcoholic drink.
Okay. Do you recall what you were drinking?
Yes.
All right. What were you drinking?
I believe Danielle poured me a small tumbler glass with some Fireball and Red Bull in it. Mm-hmm. And then I poured myself a shot of Sailor Jerry's.
Okay. And describe where you are in the apartment at this time and where Danny is.
During when I'm pouring the drinks or drinking them?
Pouring drinks and drinking them.
Well, she poured the drink, and I was in the kitchen for maybe just a second to drink the shot. And then I had the tumbler glass with me when the pizza arrived. But before the pizza arrived, I was having this drink, and Danielle and I were just sitting on the couch, channel surfing, and I was texting John.
All right. And John is
John is one of my good friends, John Vanderhorn. We work together in the military.
All right. Describe how you're feeling as you're sitting on your couch and having a drink in your home.
Extremely relaxed. I think I was kind of dozing on and off on the couch, and I was just relaxed. I was dead tired.
At any time was Danny on the phone with anyone?
Danielle was always on her phone, but it didn't really take away from us. I mean, she was on the phone quite a bit, texting or doing FaceTime with her friend Michaela or Ashley, or her sister Ashley.
Okay. And during this time period when you're home, do you recall her being on the phone at some time?
Yeah, I do remember. The only time I specifically remember was she was on FaceTime, which at the time I thought it was Ashley Ripion, which is her sister. I thought she was FaceTiming them, and I was laying down on the couch, and Danielle came out and had me wave and say hi to. I thought it was Ashley. Turns out to be Michaela.
Okay. And what's the mood between you and Danny at this point?
We're very excited, and we were planning on going to bed like we wanted to go lay down at like 7, but that's just because we wanted to pretty much make love the next 3 hours.
You wanted to be home with her?
Yeah.
All right. Describe what you're feeling and thinking as you're sitting on the couch having a drink, channel surfing with your wife.
I was relaxed. I was so happy to be home.
Been a while since you've been on a soft surface?
Been a while since I got to lay on a couch or anything nice. And it was great. Me and Danielle did cuddle for a little bit, and we caught up. We did a lot of talking. We always just talk so much when we're gone from each other because I can't talk to her every single day, so I want to know what she was up to and what she was doing while I was gone.
At some point she went back into the spare bedroom, is that right?
Yes, the pizza did arrive, and I don't think I was having a drink with the pizza, but I think I had the drink before the pizza. And after we had ate dinner, watching TV, just kind of hanging out, I think I remember the dog was trying to eat my food off my plate the whole time. And then yeah, she told me that she had to go work for about, I think she said something like 2 hours more. And she said that she had started working that morning and that she had to work some more in the afternoon. So she went, and this is while I'm still sitting on the couch, and this is after we ate. She went into the spare bedroom after I had seen her on FaceTime with her friend Michaela, into the spare bedroom, and, well, actually, I'm going to step back a bit.
Sure. If there's something we missed, tell us.
The weapon.
Okay. Tell us about the weapon.
Before Danielle got on the phone with Michaela for this FaceTime, I hadn't seen the weapon in question. I hadn't seen that weapon since before, when I was back from Yakima, before I left. And right before that call happened, Danielle took the rifle from the master bedroom closet and brought it to the spare bedroom. And somewhere around, and I don't remember this fully, but somewhere around the right front, corner of the bed, she set the weapon around that area. And during that, she told me to put it away. She wanted me to put it away.
Okay. And then she proceeds to work on the computer and continue FaceTiming with her friend. Is that right?
Yes.
And during this time period, where are you?
I'm dozing on and off in the couch.
Okay. Are you watching TV?
Yeah, very cheesy movies on. I was channel surfing, and then somehow I wound up watching G.I. Jane. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. Okay. And I was just dozing on and off on the couch.
A movie you'd seen before?
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to it. I was just
okay.
Something to listen to.
All right. At some point, you got you got off the couch?
I would say at least a half an hour after Danielle had told me to put the weapon away.
Okay.
I got off the couch and I went into the room to put this rifle away. I picked it up and not paying attention to where that weapon was pointing.
I'm going to ask you a question
Okay.
about that. Were there magazines inside the rifle?
No, there was not.
Okay. All right. And continue.
So I pick up a weapon that is in a state that the same way I left it, unloaded to my knowledge. And I pick it up and
Do you recall what hand you picked it up with?
I believe I picked it up with my left hand and handed it to my right in a,
Where were you standing?
this kind of motion. I was standing directly behind Danielle behind a little bit before the armoire, right next to the corner of the armoire. And
About how far away are you from her?
when it was close, I was inside of the room, and I was inside the room, and in my time I was trying to clear the weapon, and I didn't do it correctly, and I made a terrible mistake, and the weapon went off in my hands, and it struck the back of my wife, and I hit her in the head, and she died.
Skylar, how were you holding the weapon? Do you recall what direction the bottom of the weapon was? Towards you, away from you, up or down?
I believe, from what I remember, I was holding the weapon like so, and with the ejection port facing down. And I was just looking at the weapon, almost admiring what I had just built.
And when you looked at that weapon, do you recall if it was on safe or fire?
I don't recall if it was on safe or fire.
You know that you told the police that you switched it from safe to fire?
Yes, I did tell the police that I switched the safety selector from safe to fire.
Do you remember doing that?
I do not remember.
How is your memory about these events?
After the round went off?
After the round went off. Let's talk about it.
Hectic and fuzzy.
All right. You're holding the weapon in your hand. It's on its side. Talk to us about what happens when the gun went off.
The gun went off, and I was in a state of shock. I didn't really realize what had happened because I'd picked up this weapon and there was a round in the chamber, obviously, that I wasn't aware of. And
did you pull the trigger, Skylar?
I don't recall pulling the trigger, but I know the trigger had to be pulled for the weapon to go off.
Okay. What happened when the weapon went off? Describe it to us.
Right after the weapon went off, there was smoke in the air, a small amount, and gunpowder burned my nose as I breathed. And
did you see smoke in the air?
yes, I did.
Okay. When the gun went off, were you looking at your wife?
No, I was not looking at my wife.
When the gun went off, were you angry?
I was not angry at my wife when that weapon went off.
Skylar, did you mean to hurt your wife?
I didn't mean to hurt my wife. I never meant to hurt her. I never meant to hurt her.
When the smoke cleared, did you see your wife?
After the smoke cleared, I saw my wife, and she wasn't moving. I dropped the weapon, and I went up to my wife on the left side, and I saw her face, And my wife wasn't there anymore.
Did you see the gunshot wound?
I saw the gunshot wound.
Where did you see it?
I saw it on the back of her head.
Did you know she was dead?
Yeah, I knew she was dead. I knew she was dead. And I didn't know what to do.
Skylar, did you touch your wife?
I think I touched my wife. I believe I did.
Did you see her face?
I saw her face.
Did you see the exit wound on her forehead?
I don't recall seeing the exit wound, but I do remember touching her, and I remember feeling a deformation in the back of her head.
What did you know when you felt the deformation in the back of her head?
The round had hit her in the head.
You knew that had happened.
Yeah.
What did you do next?
I started screaming. And
Did you call her name?
I called her name many times. And I was just waiting for a response from her. And there was no response.
Did you try to render any aid to your wife?
I did not try to render aid with my wife.
Why didn't you try to render aid to your wife, Skylar?
There was no aid that I could render for her.
You knew she was gone.
I knew my wife was gone.
Skylar, can you describe how you touched your wife?
From what I remember I put my hand on the back of her head, and I felt the deformation. And I was on the left side of her. And I remember just touching her and feeling that with both my hands. I touched her arm, and I touched the back of her head. And there was no life in her. No response. So I kept calling her name, screaming it, yelling it. My world just crumbled apart that day. I immediately just was absolutely shattered. And I felt so terrible because that was my wife and my best friend. My best friend. She was everything to me. And because of my stupid mistake, she died that day.
What do you remember doing next?
I don't remember much. I remember saying God, help, and saying her name. I don't remember much.
Do you remember seeing Ben Bergmark?
Yeah, I remember seeing Ben. I remember he knocked on the door and I opened it. And his face was... he was scared. And, that man saved my life that day. Because I was going to kill myself. I couldn't bear losing my wife. And Ben stopped me from killing myself that day.
Do you remember how Ben did that?
He put his hands on me. He said, "Don't do that." He said, "No, don't." And he put me down, and he sat me down. And,
Do you recall walking out of the apartment?
I remember going out and seeing Nina. And I was asking her if she was calling the police. Or emergency, I don't remember if I said police, but calling someone. Because I needed help. I didn't know what to do.
And do you recall your interactions with where you physically moved inside and out of the apartment?
Vaguely. I know for some stupid apparent reason I thought alcohol needed to be poured out, which is it was completely stupid. I don't know why. If I could have done what I wanted, if I could go back and do what was right, I would have sat there and held her. And I would have prayed. And I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have held her. But I didn't do that. And I don't know why I did these other things.
Do you recall sitting outside the apartment with Nina?
I remember sitting next to Nina. And I was curled up in the ball, and I was just trying to figure. I didn't know what happened. I could not figure out what happened. It took me a long time to figure out what happened that day. It took me a long time.
Did the police arrive at some point?
Yes, they arrived immediately.
And you were taken into custody?
Yeah, I was taken into custody.
All right. We've seen a video of you in the back of a police car. And it's about, I think it's an hour or so. Can you tell us what you're thinking, what you're feeling during that time period?
I went in and out of knowing that my wife was dead or alive. It was such a shock that I wasn't sure what was going on. I was praying and I was yelling her name. I just wanted to see her again. And I was shattered. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know why I said certain things. I don't know. It took me a long time to figure it out.
When you were in the back of the cop car, Officer Wolf's vehicle, did you pray?
I did pray.
Did you watch the video?
Yes.
What did you ask God?
I asked God to forgive me for what just happened. And I asked that He forgive me and that Danielle was my security. And I needed her so bad. And what had happened was terrible. And I just wanted Him to show me anything. God was as close as I could get to my wife again. It was as close as I could get. That's why I wanted a chaplain. That's as close as I could get to her.
Did you ask for a chaplain?
Yes.
Did you think they were going to get you a chaplain?
Yes.
Skylar, your grandfather, Johann, was a sheriff's officer.
Yes.
When you were growing up, did you have police officers who were friends?
Yes, I did.
Do you have friends whose dads were police officers?
Yes, I did.
What was your relationship like with police officers?
They're my friends. I had barbecues with all old veterans that my grandpa had worked with for over 30 years. My stepbrother is a sheriff back home, still right now. I mean, it was a part of my life. And the police I knew practically all the police that were in my hometown. And
Police and military.
police and military, I knew most of them because I was a part of that circle. And I grew up with them since I was a small child. And I had also, my father and grandfather had lost many friends that were police officers. And I've been to their funerals, and it was hard. I became very good friends with some of them.
You thought Detective Jordan was going to be your friend?
Thought he was going to be my friend.
And you thought you were going to see a chaplain?
Yes.
You didn't know that the chaplain he had in mind was going in jail, did you?
No.
Skylar, you spoke at length to the police about what happened.
I did.
Do you recall what you told the police?
I do not recall that interrogation.
But you've seen it.
I've seen the video, and I know that that's me. And I know that that's me talking. And I know that's me saying all those things. And I don't know why I said those things. But
Skylar, do you know what happened in that apartment? Do you know how that guy went off?
I don't know exactly how it went out. I just know that I lost my wife.
Skylar, did you point the weapon at your wife?
No, I didn't.
Did you intend to hurt your wife?
I did not. I did not intend to hurt my wife. I never did. I wanted her to be with me forever. I wanted her to be the mother of my child. I loved her with all I had. She was my best friend. I don't know if I'll ever feel that again.
Did you raise a gun and shoulder it and orient it at your wife?
No, I did not.
Richard Oakley came and testified in this court, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
In the very charging documents, you knew from the beginning of this case that Anthony Cross had said he told you something about alcohol, buying something, that someone else bought something for Dan. Remember
That
that?
never happened.
I know that never happened. Okay?
Objection. Stay.
I understand that you testified it never happened. When was the first time you remember Richard Oakley being in your truck at that time?
It was January 16th of this year.
Of this year.
Of this year.
Pretty important piece of information. Yes?
Yes, it is.
You didn't remember it until a few weeks ago.
Exactly.
Are there other things about your memory that have come back to you over the last year and a few months?
Yes.
Right. No more questions, thank you.
Your witness. Your Honor, may I be heard outside the presence of the jury, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Be seated. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, the state believes the defense has opened the door to impeachment evidence regarding the nature of the relationship. The defense went to great lengths to describe in detail the loving nature of the relationship. In terms such as they were very strong with each other, they missed each other each time they were apart, etc. Portrayed the relationship, and again, in detail, as nothing but this early marriage-loving relationship. I passed to the court some face messenger communications from Danielle to Brittany Phipps, who was mentioned in testimony as well, Sam and Brittany Phipps. And specifically, Danielle stating, I wasn't allowed to cheer because he thought it would be like my old school. It's no, I can coach cheer because I would end up cheering, he thinks. Not the case, I'd be coached. Can't do any after-school activities. I can't talk to him about my friends or school unless he asks. But even then, I am limited to what I say. I have to ask before I do anything. That's a little stupid. I feel like he doesn't trust me. It's mad at me when I told him I didn't feel weird going back to school, but it's like I never graduated, so it's not odd. I was a junior. My next grade was senior, just going up in the food chain. I can't go to homecoming or prom because it's not what married couples do. So my senior prom was a no-no. He says I'm not an adult. I am a child, and I don't know responsibility when I have been taking care of my sister and I since before I was a teen. I'm nothing but a child to him, and I feel like he thinks I'm a joke, even though he says I'm not. He gets mad over the littlest things I say, has no patience for me at all, like I'm sorry I'm not a soldier, so I don't roll the way you do. My bad. I guess they get back Sunday. Never mind. And then her friend responds. And there's another. When I was back home, this is Danielle, I would never, ever, in all caps, stand for, let alone let anyone talk to me the way he does. I don't know why I let him do it, maybe because I'm afraid he'll leave. I'm scared that if I do the wrong thing, it's bye-bye. Then another. Apart from him, I can't really, if you were to ask him about any of this, he would deny it because he doesn't see it that way. Every day he is gone at work, I do. But then he gets home, I freeze, and it's all gone, because then he will turn my words around and use them against me. Another. Yeah.
Your Honor, if I may, just simply, I'd like to know the base stamp so I can follow along. I don't have this in front of me.
All right. It starts at 199, somewhere in that range. 197, 96, I believe 96. The next one. Yeah, I don't know, maybe my, quote, rules, end quote, are getting changed to bigger ones. Another. I know when I try to explain it to him, he says some remark about how I need to be an adult and that he's just talking to me like one. I told him I feel like he doesn't trust me, but he says he does, but what I feel is he really doesn't. Then the last, no, tomorrow he is, but he seems off, as if he's mad. He says we need to talk when he gets home.
Have you had an occasion to review that, Mr.?
They were provided in discovery, Your Honor.
I'm just getting to them now, Judge.
All right.
When he was talking, I didn't have it in front of me.
I understand.
The ones that I have in discovery don't seem to have dates and times on them. I'm sure that there's a better color copy that has that.
What I'd like to
Times.
do at
Pardon
this time is, I'd like to go ahead and begin cross-examination. Invite you to not address this until I have a chance to assimilate it, until he has a chance to formulate his response and so on. Can we do that?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do that. So let's have the jury back in.
Sir, I think Mr. Grudy's you want me to set the video? Or do it after lunch?
I think the jury's got enough of an image of things that I would show that they don't need to see it again. They can refer to it in their own
Let's have
minds.
the jury back in.
Judge, I'm sorry, can Mr. Osser set up, there's one photograph I do need to show while I'm questioning.
Just a photograph?
Just a photograph.
Go ahead, Mr. Ross. We're going to have the jury come in. I'll be seated, please.
Mr. Nemetz, in your examination just a few minutes ago, you didn't address a specific issue, and that is, how did you cut your finger
I believe I cut my finger on the weapon.
on the weapon? In what manner?
Well, either when the bolt came back or any number of the metal pieces that are attached to the weapon around the trigger.
How in the world could you have cut your finger on that weapon?
It's happened to me many times before, sir.
Many times?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so specifically, may I take the weapon and offer it to the defendant, Your Honor? Thank you.
Your Honor, on that, we do need to be heard outside the presence of the jury.
All right, in an abundance of caution,
Sorry.
excuse the jury for a moment. Seated.
It is unlawful for Mr. Nemetz to possess a firearm, and it is against the conditions of release. So before this happens, I want Your Honor to make a ruling that he is not jeopardizing anything by doing this during a court hearing. I do think that it is prejudicial and unfairly so to try to place the weapon in Mr. Nemetz's hands, but as a practical matter, the conditions of release says he does not possess firearms of any kind, and furthermore, I believe it's felony for a person who's charged with Class A felony to possess a firearm. So I think
My
some record.
response to that objection is to proceed and bring the jury back.
Okay, thank you.
Proceed.
Mr. Nemetz, where we left off, I was about to hand you the firearm.
Should I put on rubber gloves for this?
That's your choice. I think this gun's been handled in front of this jury by bare hands and many times. Now, show the jury exactly how you were holding that weapon and how you hurt your finger. And you know that.
Yes, sir.
Is this the first time? Let me ask you this. When is the first time you actually realized how you were holding the weapon?
Beginning of 2015.
Beginning of 2015. Now, let's take particular note of your fingers, okay? How are you holding your fingers of your right hand?
Just kind of holding the weight of the weapon.
Well, you just moved them, didn't you?
No, I didn't. This is where my hand was, sir.
Okay, so for the record, hold it up a little higher so the jury can see how you're holding your fingers on your right hand. Okay, now you just move them again.
Just
I want you
somewhere
to-
around here. I don't know exactly how my fingers were placed on the weapon.
But you've been injured many times.
Yes, I have, sir.
How have you been injured?
When this bolt comes back, if your hand is too far forward, then you can get your hand stuck in there. This, when it comes down, it can cut your hand. This mag ready thing that comes around, there's a sharp piece of metal right here, and there's a trigger on there that's sharp. And there's a wire right here that you can easily cut your hand on.
Okay, you've given a whole bunch of different explanations there, right? How in the past have you hurt your finger? Specifically, you hurt your finger on that weapon.
I've cut my hand or finger, I mean, when the bolt has come back and my hand is too far forward, or with the trigger. Sometimes if I'm moving too fast with my hands, your hand can scrape against something on the weapon and scrape your skin off.
Okay, and you're talking which area of your hand have you hurt many times?
Usually these fingers right here.
These fingers, describe them for our record.
This is my pointer finger, this is my middle finger, this is my ring finger, and this is my pinky.
Okay, your, what I'll call your middle finger, I think that's what you called it. Specifically, where have you cut your finger on that weapon, or any weapon like it?
I've cut it on the mag release before.
On the mag release. Where's the mag release?
This button right here.
Okay, and how would you do that?
Just if I'm moving too fast for my own good.
Show the jury specifically the part of the mag release that cut your finger.
I'm not saying the mag release cut my finger in this case, sir.
In the past, what part of the mag release has cut your middle finger?
Just the side of it.
The side of it. This side right here, let's be real specific. Point right to exactly what you're talking about so the jury can see.
Yeah, you can scrape your finger right here, anywhere in this part. Sometimes when you move too fast, scrape it on here. And other weapons, I've cut it from the wire. Sometimes there's a wire behind you can kind of see behind the trigger. And if this part right here, which is called the, it's the trigger guard. There's different types that come bigger and smaller. And
Can you speak up, please?
yes, there's many options to cut your hand on this
I'm
weapon.
talking purely your middle finger.
Yeah, I could cut it right here, or on this mag ready.
You could or you did?
I'm not sure exactly where I did cut it, sir.
Okay, I'm putting up on the screen. an image of your cut finger, your injured finger, I'll call it. I don't know you technically call that a cut.
Whatever you want to call it, sir.
Yeah?
It's very dark.
Yep. Well, you know what? The jury of these is, I believe, seen that picture before. That's what's important. I published the picture by walking in front of the jury.
You may.
Thank you.
This was an admitted exhibit.
Yes, sir. This is number 12 from plaintiff's 9.
Very well.
You can have a seat. You're going to need the screen, though, for the next photographs.
What do you want me to do with this weapon?
We know from that injury, because that's the only injury that you sustained in this incident, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we know that you left a considerable amount of blood at various locations within this apartment after you were injured, correct?
I saw the pictures.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you know that's when it happened, correct?
As far as I know, I did not see the injury until I was in my interrogation. And I know that because in my interrogation I see myself looking at it.
Did you just testify that you injured your finger in the firing of that weapon?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so we know that only after you fired the weapon would you have left a blood trail in that apartment, correct?
Yes.
All right. And among the areas that you left blood was what's called a spatter, I guess, technical term, but a significant amount of blood around the door frame of your bedroom. Correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And we also know that you left a smear on the top of the refrigerator in the kitchen, correct?
Yes, I've seen that picture.
Okay. And you also left a smear by the slider, correct?
Yes, I've also seen that picture.
And that would positively indicate areas that you went before you ever answered the door, correct?
Yes, possibly.
Possibly? Did you go to the slider after answering the door?
I do not remember.
You don't remember?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You remember pulling the trigger?
No, I do not.
Don't remember that either. Do you remember going into the bathroom and taking care of your injury?
No, I don't remember that either.
Your wife, now, she cleaned that apartment, right?
As far as I know.
Well, as far as you know, you gave a statement to law enforcement that when you got home, you went through the apartment.
She had shampooed the carpets. Beyond that, I don't know.
I didn't finish my question. You told law enforcement in your interview that you walked through that apartment determining and looking at how clean it was.
I may have said that.
You may have said that. You reviewed the statement that you gave to law enforcement, correct?
Yes, I
You have
did.
a copy of it, correct?
Not with me.
Not with you. No. But in preparation for your testimony, you reviewed it.
I've reviewed it, yes.
All right. Now, do you recall telling law enforcement that you went through that apartment when you first got home to look at how clean it was?
I do not recall saying that.
Do you think your wife would have left a toilet paper roll empty beside the toilet?
It is a possibility.
It's a possibility. You think women would use the restroom with a bunch of toilet paper available and leave it empty?
It is a possibility.
Did you leave it empty?
I do not know if I left it empty, sir.
Mr. Nemetz, do you recall telling the detectives, not during the statement that you made when they said, open-ended, okay, Skylar, tell me what happened, right? Do you recall leaving out the entire episode of the bottles?
I do not recall that.
You've read your...
I have, but I do not remember that.
Well, do you recall not only the first time that you went through that, you talked about how the weapon went off because you slammed it on your thigh. Remember that?
Yes, as I was explaining this to
Do
the...
you remember that, Mr. Nemetz?
I remember saying that, yes, sir.
Okay, you did say that, correct?
I know I said that by viewing my video, yes, sir.
Okay, so only by viewing the video and reviewing the transcript.
Yes, sir.
All right, you don't just have the video, you have the transcript of what you said.
I don't personally have one for myself, sir.
You've been reviewing it, correct?
I have reviewed it, yes, sir.
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
And you would know, of course, in detail, that in viewing it and reading the transcript, that a central issue is that when you were first asked open-ended questions about what happened, you told law enforcement in this tape-recorded, video-recorded interview that you never pulled the trigger, did not pull the trigger. I slammed it on my thigh when I was charging it, basically, and it went off accidentally.
At the time, I was trying...
Did you say that, yes or no?
Yes, I did say that.
Okay, and then, after that, you went through the rest of what happened, but you never said anything in that initial accounting, that open-ended question of what happened, about going to get those bottles, correct?
Yeah, not that I remember, sir.
And you looked at it in preparation for your testimony.
Yes, I did, sir.
Then after that, and the detective says, you know, there's some conflicting things in my mind that I want to clear up. He started asking you again and said, look, you might be just upset. You know, let's just go through this as if you're telling a story, chapter by chapter, detail. And this is after you'd alluded to sex that he brought up, not you. And so you started going through it, and he said, I want you to tell me the details. The details. And you told him the same story about slamming it on your thigh, correct? You remember that?
I do not remember that, sir.
You don't remember that?
I do not remember saying that for a second time.
Okay, well, before I have you look at the transcript, which I am going to have you do, the second time through, you still didn't talk about the bottles, did you?
I don't recall if I did or not, sir.
Okay, well, look. In any event, it was later in the interview, much later in the interview, that the detective, as you know, found out from other officers who had been canvassing the area and talking to witnesses that your downstairs neighbor had heard the toilet flush twice. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and when confronted with that, you told the detective for the first time that there was a bottle, not two bottles, a bottle, that you got from the kitchen, went to the bathroom for some reason, and poured it down the toilet before then leaving the bathroom, going to the slider, and throwing it into the woods. Remember?
Yes, that's correct.
And the detective's like, well, why do you have to flush it twice? And you said, because the toilet was full of paper. What kind of paper was it full of?
I do not recall what type of paper. I would guess that it would be toilet paper, sir.
Probably toilet paper, correct?
Most probably, yes.
Did you notice the difference between the initial blood spatter outside your bedroom door and just the smear, single smear on top of the refrigerator and the very minor amount of blood by the slider door?
Are you talking about when I reviewed it at a later date? Or
Yes,
during?
when you've seen these pictures.
No, I did not take into account the amount of blood on each spot.
You did. Okay, let's take a look at it.
But I know the majority of it, the large splatter was next to my bedroom. Me and Danielle's master bedroom.
Let's look at these in order. Plaintiff's 9, number 42. That's all your blood, correct?
That's what I've been told, sir.
Well, That's what the DNA expert said, correct?
Yes, that's what he said.
Swabs were taken, and you know that Danielle didn't go from the chair to this area, correct?
Correct.
And this comes back to you,
Yes.
correct? That's your blood, correct?
Correct, from what I've been told.
Okay. And then the other 2 spots left at the scene. There's plaintiff's 9, number 14. Appears to be a single smear, correct?
That's what it appears to be, sir.
Okay, and then number 17 also appears to be dissipating, correct?
Your Honor, dissipating.
If the witness doesn't understand a word that's used by the counsel in any examination on either side, they can merely ask the counsel to define what the word is. You may proceed.
Dissipating is not a complicated word, is it?
Oh, can you ask the question in a different way, please?
Yes, sir. There's a whole lot more blood where you first saw, the first picture we saw, than there is by the slider, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And one reasonable accounting for that would be that as soon as you shot your wife that you love so much, that you've talked about how much you love here in front of the jury, the woman you want to have children with, the woman that means the rest of your life to you, you didn't go to her aid, did you?
No, I did not.
I'm going to object on the confusing question. There's a large amount of testimony from Mr. Greer and then a simple question.
The objection is overruled. If the witness does not answer the question, the witness can ask that it be clarified. Please proceed.
What you did, Mr. Nemetz, is take care of your outing, correct?
Say that again, sir.
You took care of your injury. You went to the bathroom.
No, I did not
You
take
took
care of my
toilet
injury.
paper. You put pressure on your injury.
Not that I recall, sir.
Not that you recall.
No.
But you do see that the toilet paper's gone. You do see that you told law enforcement you had to flush the toilet twice because there was so much paper in the toilet.
I did not notice that there was no paper on the toilet roll at the time.
At the time what? That you were pulling it off?
No, sir. I wasn't pulling toilet paper off of that.
You weren't. Okay.
Not that I can remember.
Not that you can remember. Now, let's talk about something else. Judge, when I retrieve the easel.
Both counsel are free to move about in their direct, redirect, and cross-examinations.
Thank you. Mr. Nemetz, that's an accurate visual representation of the floor plan of your apartment, correct?
Close to accurate.
What do you mean close to?
Well, the bedrooms, as far as I could tell by looking at them when I lived there, were different sizes.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be concerned about that issue in the questions that I have right now.
Then no, it is not accurate compared to what I know.
All right. Mr. Nemetz, does it make any sense that if the bottle was on the refrigerator where you keep your alcohol, correct?
Yes.
Okay, does it make any sense, one, that you would have to pour it out before getting rid of it?
No, it does not make
It
sense.
doesn't make a bit of sense, does it?
No, it doesn't.
If in your mind you're concerned, truly concerned about alcohol being found, because after you've shot your wife, and this is what you told law enforcement, correct? You were concerned about your getting in trouble because you're not yet 21, right?
I believe I said that.
You believe you did. Once again, did you read the transcript? Did you watch the video?
Yes, I did, but I do not remember the entire thing.
You don't. Well, would you remember that part of it, Mr. Nemetz?
I just said I did not remember that part.
You shot your wife. You admit that, correct?
Yes, on accident.
You shot your wife. You admit that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And among the things that you said to law enforcement afterward, after this hugely traumatic event, after the loss of your wife's life, you said that you went and got rid of alcohol because you were concerned about, I suppose, a minor's possession or how it might affect your military career, correct?
That's what I've been told.
Mr. Nemetz, that's not just what you've been told. You watched the video.
I understand that, sir, but that's not directly from my memory.
You don't remember that part.
No.
Okay, well, let's just, in the hypothetical,
Okay.
I guess that's the way we have to do this. You threw the bottle, the empty bottle, into the woods. Why would it have to be empty?
I do not know, sir.
Doesn't make sense, does it? Does it?
No.
Okay, now let's talk about the actual logistics of pouring it out. You see your kitchen there?
Yes.
You have a sink in your kitchen, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if someone was wanting to, in a hurry, get rid of something before the police got there, and they wanted to pour it down a sink, would they pour it to the one that they would have to go around the wall, back to the bedroom area where their wife lay dead, into a bathroom, pour it out there, and then go back along that same route to throw it off the back balcony?
No, that doesn't make sense.
Does it? Logically, first of all, if it was true, throwing the bottles off full would make sense, if that was really what you were trying to do, correct?
Can you ask that in a different way, please?
There's 2 bottles here, correct? Saber
Yes.
Jerry's and Fireball.
Yes, there was.
You took 2 bottles. You
Yes.
threw them into the woods,
Into the brush, yes.
into the brush, Mr. Nemetz. You
Yes,
know
sir.
that you told law enforcement over and over again that you went from the kitchen, I don't think you even said the kitchen, you just said you got the bottle. You went to the bathroom to pour the bottles out, the contents. Then you went and threw them in, what did you call it?
The brush.
The brush. You see my point, don't you?
The point that I threw the alcohol bottles off and I didn't pour it out in that sink rather than the one that was in the bathroom.
That's my point.
There was no logic to what I did because I was trying to figure out everything for myself. I wasn't sure what I was doing or why I was doing it.
Well, there actually is logic, isn't there?
There is no logic after my wife died.
Well, another thing we haven't talked about, there's 2 things that you were upset about that day, correct?
Can you clarify those 2 things, sir?
Well, Mr. Foss says that you were shaking with anger because he told you someone else got the alcohol.
That did not happen, sir.
You say that didn't happen, right?
Yes.
We have your word on that,
Yes.
okay? You remember that, right?
I remember Anthony Foss testifying to that, yes.
Okay, and not only do you remember him testifying to that, but you were provided with a document when you were first arraigned in this case a couple days after the incident, correct? Correct?
I don't know.
You don't know if you got a document charging you with murder in the first degree, Mr. Nemetz?
Well, I was in jail, sir, and we weren't allowed to have documents with us.
Okay, let's talk about the 1.5 years plus since 16th of October 2014. Have you figured out what you're charged with?
Very much so, sir.
Okay, see that document I put in front of you?
Yes.
What's the date?
Where would the date be located?
It'd be by the signature. Second page. Maybe third.
October 22nd of 2014.
Okay, have you ever seen that document before?
I was never given this document, sir.
Never given that document.
No.
Okay. Well, then tell me something. Is it your testimony that it wasn't until January 20-something of this year, meaning after the jury had been selected and after we started this trial, that you first became aware that Mr. Foss was saying that you were so angry about these bottles that you were shaking? Is that the first time you realized that?
I don't remember exactly when I heard about Anthony Foss and what he was going to say, or his story.
Give it your best estimate.
Of when I heard from Anthony Foss about his testimony, about what he was going to testify to.
Mr. Nemetz, not only do you have access to your statements, you have access to every report generated in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've read them.
Yes, sir.
And you've had that in your mind for a very long time, correct?
What I can remember, sir.
What you can remember. Do you think it would be significant to remember that probably the central issue the state has regarding your motive would be that you are angry that some other guy bought those 2 bottles of alcohol? Did that ever cross your mind that that was going to be a big part of this case?
I understand that was the state's accusations.
Right, and you've known that since the time that document was provided to you?
I was never provided this document again.
Never.
No, I've never had this document in hand to me.
Okay, well, let's just then assume that's accurate and go back to the central issue, which is, are you telling this jury that since October 22nd, let's call it, the date that you were charged with murder in the first degree, you have no idea, in general, when you became aware that Anthony Foss was in essence giving the state the motive for this murder?
If I had
This
to,
accusation of murder, what you call it.
if I had to give a guesstimate, I would say around the time when me and my attorney were talking about that. It was also the time that I remembered that I gave Richard Oakley a ride.
Okay, that's after this trial started.
Yes, it is, sir.
After this trial started, you're telling the jury is the first time you recognize the significance of what Anthony Foss has said.
Well, I knew what he said wasn't true, sir.
How could you know what he said's not true if you don't know what he said?
He says that he carried my gear to my truck,
Answer
sir.
my question first. How can you know what anybody said is untrue if you don't know what they said?
I didn't know what he would testify to until he was
Not my
actually
question.
testifying, sir.
Again, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You can't know that someone's not telling the truth about something unless you know what they're saying, correct?
Correct.
When did you first know Mr. Foss was saying something about these bottles?
I would say it was this year, sir.
You would say it was this year?
Yeah, I had it.
2016.
Yes.
May I see the document?
Yes, good.
This document the relevant part indicates Mr. Nemetz insisted that he and his wife were happy and did not argue prior to the shooting. According to one of Mr. Nemetz's co-workers, he saw Mr. Nemetz and Mrs. Nemetz about 2 hours prior to the shooting. Mr. Nemetz thanked his co-worker for getting liquor for him and Mrs. Nemetz while he was gone. The co-worker told...
Your Honor, I'm going to object to reading the declaration for determination of probable cause.
What's the basis, Your Honor?
It's the basis for reading the declaration of probable cause.
I don't think that's the basis.
Do you have an objection?
Yes, this doesn't appear to be a question.
I'm not finished.
I think it is a question. Your objection's overruled.
Okay, let me pick up on the sentence I left off. Mr. Nemetz thanked his co-worker for getting liquor for him and Mrs. Nemetz while he was gone. The co-worker told Mr. Nemetz that another man bought the liquor for her. The co-worker told detectives that Mr. Nemetz was furious and visually upset. The same co-worker visited Mr. Nemetz after he was moved to the county jail. He told detectives that Mr. Nemetz gave varying versions of how his wife was shot.
I'm going to object because this is assuming facts, not evidence.
Not relevant to the question, Your Honor. Question.
This is impeachment,
Thank you.
and I'm going to overrule the objection.
That is powerful, powerful information. An act accusatory of a person charged with intentionally shooting their wife, correct? Correct?
Can you ask that again, sir?
I think you should pay attention to me, okay? Please.
I am, sir.
All right.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that if
I'm
Mr.
going
Nemetz...
to consider that an objection. I'm going to sustain that objection. I'm going to ask the jury to disregard the prosecutor's last comment. That was not part of a question. Ask your next question, if you would, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Nemetz, understanding the person charged in your situation with murder, correct? That a document created, you say you didn't read, on the 22nd of October 2014, detailing the state's allegations, including specific facts supporting them, fully understand that if true, what I just read would be pretty powerful.
It would be powerful, sir.
Okay. And then further, once again, your testimony is you have no knowledge of these facts that I just read as relates to your preparation for this trial, let's say.
This was never provided to me, sir.
You didn't answer my question. You're saying in preparation for this trial, that information wasn't part of your consideration.
I knew about some of the information, but I didn't read this actual 3 pages.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. There's another area. Do you want me to stop now?
I think that's probably a good idea if you're switching. All right, members of the jury, we're going to be at recess until 1:30. Just please remember the requirements in place. The court is placed upon you. Please do not discuss this case among yourselves with anyone else or allow anyone to discuss it with you in your presence. We will be